Then, when he was 60 years old, when most people have other things on their mind, Harding chose to re-enlist during World War II and return as a combat artist. So he's 60 years old and going to the Pacific with the Marines. He did hundreds of sketches while he was there. This is an example of one of them here, very different in style than the early one. His artistic techniques have progressed a lot over the years. Very dark and very moving. So in our research about this painting, you've seen who the painter was. One of the things we came across was articles like this, a melodrama in a movie house, where it became clear to us that a theater in Trenton was slated for demolition, and this is 1971, and a group of conservators, people like Christyl, lots of them, went in to save this painting because they felt it was valuable and it shouldn't be lost. The next article here, this is from the New York Times. You can see they've got scaffolding working up in the air. There's a large roller. The painting is being rolled up on this roller as the roller is hoisted up the wall using chains, I think. And that's how they got it off before the building came down. The process, clearly it was intended to be very professionally done. It was done by the Conservators Association, not by building workers. Didn't work out quite as well as we hoped. The Trenton Opera House, where this painting hung, was built just after the Civil War. It's described as an opera house, although we don't think a lot of actual, Mozart-style operas went on there. We think most likely vaudeville shows and other kind of musical reviews that were popular during the post-Civil War era. There we go. Here's some promotional stuff for it. It was funded by the Taylor pork roll family. That's what built that beautiful house that you see there is pork roll. And John Taylor believed that his great-grandfather fought under George Washington during the Revolution. We don't really know that that's true, but that was at least what he was putting out at the time. Once more, a little harder. The number of political conventions went on in the Opera House. This is the nomination of Governor McClellan. Woodrow Wilson, who was also governor of New Jersey, his inauguration was held in the Opera House. And additionally, the meeting rooms there were used by a group of people who were planning a park that ended up being Washington Crossing State Park. And that's a very early photograph of the park. You can see the original roadway network, kind of the overlook that's there. It was all cleared farm field back then, very, very little in the way of trees. No, 29 is kind of in a different configuration than it is now. After the vaudeville era ended, it became one of a number of RKO theaters in Trenton. There were several of them. I'm sure it was a super popular movie place, but times changed. And now all that's left there is this marker by the side of the street telling you where it was. So what happened to this painting? That was the big mystery. And when Pat did some further digging, we found out that it had been, you can see it's the roll there that you saw in those earlier pictures. It had been taken, donated to the state of New Jersey for use in the new visitor center. Now, this was the bicentennial visitor center, the 1976 visitor center. Remember, it came down from the theater 5 years earlier. That probably sounded like a good plan, but the new visitor center, which is not much of the building, does not fit this painting and never fit this painting. So the painting was put temporarily into the basement of the Manor House at Ringwood State Park up in North Jersey, and basically was forgotten there for 50 years. And there it is, covered with canvas, and I think you can probably see a little mildew on the edge of the roller there. Christyl will tell you just how challenging it was to deal with what's there. And that evergreen that you see there, those are the park Christmas decorations that it sat behind for all those time. So we became determined to see if this thing could be saved. We had Christyl and her art handlers move it to her location, do an assessment of it. It was determined that it could be saved. So Christyl underwent a very long and arduous and beautiful restoration that she's going to talk about. I just want to mention a couple things before I turn it over to her. To get a painting like this, a 10-foot by 16-foot painting into a public building, you need three things. You need a beautiful painting, which we're going to have here. You need art handlers that are specialized professionals that move and hang monumental works of art. They have the lifting equipment and the technical skills to do this without messing anything up because, of course, they're working with priceless objects. And then you need a frame. The original frame did not survive. I now know that getting somebody to build a 10 by 16-foot museum quality frame is not an easy process. There are not too many people who need such frames. The first quote that we got for this frame this size was $150,000 to $250,000. Yeah, but those are people who make these frames. These paintings hang in the Met, they hang in the White House, they hang at Mount Vernon, they hang at the Museum of the American Revolution. Not the Washington Crossing Park Association. So we talked to lots of people, and in the end, we're working with a young fellow recommended to us by Christyl up in the Hudson Valley, who's building a beautiful gold leaf traditional frame that's going to come down here in an extremely large truck and be put into the beautiful new building that's under construction. So I'll let you take it from here.
Okay. So this is how we found the painting in the basement of this what would you call it, mansion up in Ringwood. Like this? Is that okay? I can hear it too. Yeah. Anyway, what we didn't realize when we were going to move the painting out was that some walls had been built over the last 50 years. It was quite challenging and tight because this roll was 22 feet long to get it out of there. So that in itself was an interesting endeavor and took, I think, 5 of us to get it out. Am I going the wrong way? Oh,
That's it, correct. Yeah.
that's the right way? That's up now. Or I'm holding this upside down? I'm sorry. Yeah, I had it upside down.
Yes.
No, that's how I had it. Watch. Yeah, I'll go to the next one. See?
Yeah, it just.
Oh, okay. Okay, we got it. So this is the painting. This is a photo that was taken of the painting a long time ago.
So,
And you can see that it's actually been changed from, you'll see in the next picture, the artist actually had this in his studio at some point and had changed. The guy that's closest to the left-hand side, he is looking up in this image, and the rope that hangs over the side had also been changed. We found that out while we were working on the piece.
Laser on the bottom there.
Oh, there you go. This guy, you can see he's looking up here, and in the finished painting, he's looking straight ahead. And then this rope here just kind of loops over here, and in the finished painting actually comes down and into the water, and was rather ambiguous actually on what it was doing. We straightened that out.
I think Michael handed over a couple slides early.
So what do we do? Do you want to talk about?
Just for 1 second. So the reason that this is in here is because Pat Millen, who was the one that actually rediscovered the mural, this is where she first saw it. there was a small pamphlet book, History of George Washington's Bicentennial Celebration. She was flipping through it and came across this and was like, I've never seen this before. What is this? So she started researching it. That's where she came across a small passage that basically said that it had been planned to go at actually Mercer County Community College when it was first being built first, then the Visitor Center. So this is kind of the genesis of this whole story. And then in March 2021, that is when the WCPA officially had its first meeting with Christyl and our then superintendent, Neil. And this here, Annette, is our executive director for the Washington Crossing Park Association. They had a Zoom meeting and first started discussing whether this could actually be restored or not. And now we're back to Christyl.
Okay. So I've been doing this for 30 years this year. I've been in business 30 years this year. And I'm right here in town if anybody needs painting conservation after May.
Just keep that mic up, Chris.
Okay. There we go. That's my studio across from the Swan. And this is just an example of some of the work that we do before and after. This is also the same. It's a lot of tedious in painting to bring the painting back to what it was originally. And this one is recently done for the library. Mr. Stryker. And this is what we found in the basement. So one of the interesting things about the length of this tube that the painting is rolled on is that they had originally built this amazingly well with a wooden structure through the sonotube and steel pipes that ran, unfortunately, only a third of the way from each side. Not anticipating that the painting was going to be stored for 50 years. And it did bow rather badly. And that sitting in that position for such a long time made it very vulnerable to cracking and breaking, and we didn't know what we were going to find. So we thought it best to transport it suspended. And this is Kieran here, who's a very good art handler. He's worked at the Michener and done some work for me at the United Nations and some other local museums around the area. He's very good. And he did all that. So we got it here. Okay, I'm sorry. And there you can see the bow. This was once we got it to the storage facility. And then we unrolled it very carefully. What you see there is the rice paper, and that was originally put on it, what we call a facing that kind of holds everything together. And it was just falling off at this point because it was so old and dry. You can see in the middle the waves here from being rolled from the bow. So you had it right down the side there. Okay, so this, not traditional in painting conservation, but this is our attempt to gently try to put a little bit of weight onto some of the bad areas to just kind of push them down a little bit to get them a little bit better to plane so that it didn't break when we line the painting. What you see here, this paper, is the new facing. So this is also put on again to hold all the pieces together while we work with the painting. There was just a stubborn part in the middle. This is the beginning of that. Just gives you a little bit of the size. It's actually longer than that, but, and this is what it looked like up close. it's very difficult to see the cracking, but you'll see some up close pictures. Here's a small, just a little test clean to see what was underneath. We wanted to see some of the color and what was going to happen when we did clean it, if it was cleanable. You can see an old repair here and some cracking here. There's a lot of dirt on this painting, so some of these, there are cracks that are just filled in with dirt that you can't even see. You can see a little bit of the waviness. You see that how it kind of looks like it's cupped a little bit, cupped up. That's some of the cracking and the cupping. Up here you can see a little bit more, probably an old tear here. George, this is another example. This is a good up close example of a lot of dirt, but like this is an old tear with some overpaint, old oil retouching that's showed up on the painting. There's quite a bit of that. The painting had been restored numerous times. Somebody had come along, whether it was in the theater while it was on the wall or at another time, someone has come along and touched it up here and there. And this is once we got to actually start working on the painting. So once the facing was on, then the next job was to clean the back. So we make a bridge. That's my bridge here. And we work from there. And this is actually on dollies. You can't see it in the picture, so we can just roll it down along the side and clean off these areas. And that's where everything's done from. Majority is done from this. Once the painting was lined, let me get back one for a second. So once the verso is cleaned and everything's cleaned off, we apply the adhesive. That adhesive actually soaks through the back of the canvas to the back of the paint layer and kind of grabs that, right? Then we put a new lining on, which is a whole new piece of linen to hold everything together. That's all done from the back. Once everything's consolidated, then we have the new linen, which you can see here, and then we had a special custom stretcher made by Mr. Ron Lassard as aluminum. Being that the painting is so large and heavy, we thought aluminum stretcher would be much more practical for the space and moving it around. So that is a beautiful piece of artwork in itself, that stretcher. And this is the painting before we clean it. So now the facing's been taken off. That takes a lot of the dirt and everything off in itself, right? And then now we actually get down to really cleaning the painting. There's a couple areas up in here where there were large tears in the corners. You know, you have to remember this painting was actually on a wall. So it had a lot of adhesive and things like that on the back of it, which we had to also remove. This probably happened when they took the painting off the wall. Originally, it probably had a piece of trim that made the frame. It was nailed directly to the wall and covered the edge of the painting. And there we are cleaning. Start cleaning the painting, removing a little bit at a time, all the residual dirt. And that's the most satisfying part, because you get to see what's underneath. And well, we use camel's milk traditionally. Yeah, it's all very subjective. It depends on the painting. In this particular case, we used a combination. There's a lot of different things on the painting, right? So we got soot, we have dirt, we have rice paste, we have discolored varnish, and we have old paint. So we use a combination of a base gel. We used some enzyme solution and organic chemicals. There's a half and half. And you can see here the boat, the rope, and then also this guy. He's looking straight ahead now. So it's a good thing he knows where he's going. And then the final step is to fill the voids and paint them, what we call in painting. So we use a reversible colors that will come off easy, which is why we call it conservation. Basically, the techniques and the materials that we use are different than just somebody fixing it, you know. You can see in this, there was quite a bit of old overpaint. You can see this big dark red spot here. This was an old repair that someone had put some, probably when the painting was dirty, it matched better. And then it also darkens over time. And here's just a few before and afters. The sky. Yeah, you see a lot of, you know, messy stuff on that. This guy had some problems in his hat. He had a lot of problems in his hat here. And there's George. And there's George. And now we go to the story, and I'll let Mark fill you in on that, because the conservation I can do, but not the history.
Absolutely, what an amazing job that Christyl did. I'd give her another round of applause. It's just absolutely stunning. So these are different features of this particular mural. And these are things that I kind of pointed out and my colleague Clay pointed out that we really enjoyed about it, and Annette made sure that we had slides for. This particular piece here is showing the background here. We can see the soldiers that are actually coming down to the crossing. We can see cannons that are getting ready to be loaded on, the horses that are struggling to bring the cannons over to the ferry boat. So this is a little bit different. We'll show you in a minute some other paintings of the time period or about the crossing. But we really like this because it's showing you the chaos and everything that is actually occurring as the crossing happens. A lot of times, you know, we have the iconic painting, which we'll get to in a moment, and it looks very, hey, it's romanticized because that's what he was doing. So that it was very simple to cross the river in a sense almost. Here we're showing also some background here. We have Conestoga wagon, not necessarily going to be coming across the river, but it's there to supply all the men who are going to be taking 3 days rations with them, because the original plan had been to move on to Princeton if they wanted Trenton. That's the whole historical part. We're not going to go into all that, but nowhere else have I seen anyone showing the actual wagons bringing supplies to the troops before they came across the river. Here as well, we can actually see a slight difference here, because this is showing the cannons are getting onto ferries. Two kinds of boats are the main boats utilized during the crossing. The Durham boats, which are specially made to move iron ore from the Durham iron furnace down to Philadelphia, perfect for bringing the infantry across the river. But you couldn't put an artillery piece in there, because if I stood into one, it would come up to my chest level, and you couldn't put a horse or artillery into it. The ferries are already in place and perfect because they're built to take a team of horses and a wagon across to the normal marketplace. Perfect for the artillery, and one of the reasons that you're going to cross at a McConkey's and Johnson's Ferry. So seeing that in the actual painting is another fantastic aspect of this. And then just a nice close-up of, you know, the rowers here, and the determination in the faces of everyone. It's just a little bit more the ruggedness. It really shows to me personally the determination and the fortitude that these men have, because they don't know what's really happening here. They've been told to get in a boat, cross the river, and you're marching off somewhere. They don't know what's really happening, but they're ready to go at under Washington's command. So those are some of the features that are kind of special about this mural. Here, this is finally, the mural is I shouldn't say finally, it took a long time and a lot of hard work. But this is when we got to visit it and see it as a completed and restored mural. We have one of our stars here, excuse me, one of our stars here, Michael. And I showed Jeanette, myself. Mark Texel is the administrator of the Office of Historic Sites in the New Jersey State Parks, Forests, and Historic Sites Division. And then Rose Munley is our ASR and aspiring historian. And Ken Ritchie and John Daniel, also trustees of the WCPA. And you can see we're all very excited. So here we're just going to run through, as Michael said, there are multiple different paintings of the crossing. They range from this Currier and Ives, which is just a small version of it. Then you get this one, which I always find very interesting. I feel like a first grader may have done it, but that's just me personally. By J.O.J. Frost. Lloyd Garrison, a local artist, was commissioned by Kel Swan, the former curator and historian at Washington Crossing State Park, his collection of the American Revolution is what we actually have on display at the Museum and Visitor Center. And in 2000, he commissioned this painting by Lloyd Garrison, attempting to be a little bit more historically accurate than the famous painting. It is more accurate. It's still not accurate. I say that very plainly and clearly, that these are interpretations of the crossing. No one was there. We don't know exactly how it worked out. Kells told Lloyd that, yes, he did want to have the entire high command, Washington sitting, General Greene, Colonel Knox, General Sullivan, in one boat crossing them. You would never do that. You would have the entire high command. If that boat went down, you just lost everybody in charge of the army. But it's a very nice picture. And Lloyd actually has done more research and done more paintings recently of the embarkation and debarkation. So as Michael said, there's not as many paintings being done today, but people are still doing paintings of the crossing because it's just that important in American history. And obviously we have the iconic Leutze painting of Washington crossing the Delaware. Interestingly, this is probably considered the second most recognizable painting in the world. I've seen that in multiple locations. Anybody know what the first one was? Mona Lisa. So I think it's in a pretty good standing. But what we're hoping is that now that we've rediscovered our mural, that we can also be elevated and be seen by a great multitude of individuals and recognize the importance. This is a romanticized painting. You will often hear there are 15 mistakes in it, blah, blah, blah. And as a historian, that is correct. But that's not what he was doing. It was a romanticized painting trying to show a small group of right-minded individuals could overthrow tyranny. So he wasn't looking to be historically accurate. So back to our mural, the Harding mural, as I had said, has a different flavor to it, showing the true ruggedness and fortitude of the individuals. This is a artist rendering of our new museum. This area in here is what we call the Flex Gallery. We will have a few, excuse me, temporary exhibit stations over here. But as you can see, the actual mural will have a place of honor. This building was built with the intention of displaying this. And we're very excited to have it and have the support of the Park Association in restoring it. So once the restoration got started, the Park Association did put out a press release, and immediately news outlets were all over it. As you can see, the Philadelphia Inquirer was doing an article, 6 ABC came out, and this here is Pat Millen, as we had mentioned earlier, who was the person who started this whole thing of getting it back together. So we had ABC coming out, and there's the ABC news clip. So again, here's the Flex Gallery. Place of honor there. This is the entrance to the main exhibit area, the exit to the main exhibit area. So everybody's going to go past here. We also have this wonderful terrazzo map that's going to be here based on the 1777 William Faden map, which shows where Washington crossed and the troop movements down to the Battle of Trenton. We will be utilizing that in programming, hopefully with children's programming. We're going to, excuse me, we're going to have them build boats, and then smaller, younger kids do a little boat building, cross the river, and march their men down to the battle. Quick 15-minute program, but I think that those kids will really enjoy it. So in this rendering right up here, this right here is actually a ramp that runs up the face of the building. And you can see we do have quite a bit of glass here, which, to be honest, we as historians fought at first because we're like, our artifacts and everything. But don't be worried. This is not going to be faded. These are all 99% UV rated. So nothing is going to be coming through there to harm the painting or any of the artifacts that we'll have in the temporary exhibits. But on this ramp, as you go up, it goes up to a observation deck that overlooks the crossing itself. So the next picture is going to be me shooting a shot right from this location. Because now you get to see the first and only pictures of the chaos of this. So this is me standing in that location. These two pillars are basically the back where the painting will be, the entrance to our main exhibit area, and the exit. This is the terrazzo map right here. So that is the exact angle that I was just showing you. Here, it's also up on the ramp looking down. So as I say that, everywhere that I'm saying looking down is glass. So you can see this painting at any time. And then finally, if you're just, the museum's closed, you can't get in, but you're walking by, don't worry, this is going to be able to be seen at all times. One big difference between the Leutze painting and our mural, you have to get into the Met, go through a whole bunch of stuff, and go into a special room to see it. The place has to be open. For us, hey, come check it out anytime you want.
Just steps from where I am standing today, General George Washington led his troops across the icy Delaware River, leading to surprise victories at the battles of Trenton and Princeton, boosting morale, fight for American independence. I'm Sean Latourette, the state's Commissioner of Environmental Protection.
What was that sound? Need to turn it off? Where should I?
Nearly 250 years ago, on December 25th, 1776, just steps from where I am standing today, General George Washington led his troops across the icy Delaware River, leading to surprise victories at the battles of Trenton and Princeton, boosting morale and reigniting the fight for American independence. I'm Sean Latourette, the state's Commissioner of Environmental Protection and State Historic Preservation Officer, standing at the new Washington Crossing State Park Visitor Center. Slated to open in 2026, the $24 million project is New Jersey's semi-quincentennial gift to the nation, a lasting tribute to the fight for American independence, and will educate generations about how New Jersey was the crossroads of the American Revolution. Inside the new visitor center, you'll find exhibits outlining the Revolutionary War from 1775 to 1783. An immersive 4D experience where visitors will stand on a ferry boat with a video reenacting the crossing of the Delaware playing on the exhibit walls. A 125-seat multi-purpose theater, a flexible gallery for rotating exhibits, a sustainable green roof and observation deck overlooking the very site of the crossing. The visitor center will also feature a restored mural of Washington's troops crossing the Delaware, painted by George Matthews Harding in 1921. Support for the design and location of the new visitor center was received from the Crossroads of the American Revolution and the American Battlefield Trust. And our work at Washington Crossing doesn't stop there. Restoration was also recently completed at the historic Johnson Ferry House and is also underway at the Stone Barn and Bear Tavern, along with new interpretive signage and roadway improvements throughout Washington Crossing State Park. We look forward to welcoming you to Washington Crossing in 2026 as we celebrate 250 years of American independence.
So that was just released about 5 days ago by DEP on our Instagram and such. So it's very well done, in my opinion. I only have a couple of things about it, but I should be quiet. I do like one of the wow factors that we have that he does mention is we're very excited about what we call the crossing theater experience. So when you go through the main exhibit area, you go through 1775 up to the cusp of the crossing, and then you go into the theater, load up onto the ferry boat, and you're surrounded on three sides by screens, and you get to actually cross the river with General Washington. And then as the fires get bigger, you land, and then you come off and you go into half the museum, which is our story, the 10 crucial days from the crossing through the Battle of Princeton. And then you finish up from 1777 after the Battle of Princeton through the rest of the war for the rest of the exhibit area. So we're very, very excited. As you saw there, we have the Johnson Ferry House was also worked on, the Stone Barn, the Bear Tavern. The state has invested quite a large sum of money in this and the 250th at the crossing. So I really hope that you guys are able to come out. And the last two things are the Johnson Ferry House, our most historic building in the crossing. It's a gem in the state of New Jersey, and we hope that the residents in New Jersey, as well as the nation, will come out and see how much and how important this site is. And we want to thank the Washington Crossing Park Association for all of the support they do, particularly in this case, the Harding mural, because that is just going to be such a unique aspect of the new museum and our interpretation at the park. And the last thing is bringing the 250th to life in Lambertville, which is the overall title of this grant opportunity that we have and the upcoming events that will be occurring. As I said, this was the third program. On March 1st, a visit from Ben Franklin will occur at the Lambertville Library. On March 15th, Phyllis Wheatley, the first published Black female author in American history, will be at the Kalmia Club. And then on April 18th at the Holcomb House, we'll be having a Revolutionary War encampment, including demonstrations, musket firings, cannon firings, cooking, barn tours of the historic Hunterdon County barns, the oldest in the county, I believe, as well as the Holcomb House itself, and multiple historical figures doing talks, including General Washington. And some of you may know Daniel Bray, who's a local hero who gathered boats for the crossing itself. So we'll have Daniel Bray as well. And then finally in May will be the last program, The War of Canes, Aprons, and Kids, Coryell's Ferry and the Revolution at the Lambertville Library, being presented by local historians, the Henchecks, who are right back there. I mean, so we're very excited for this whole group of programming. I'm not finished. We're very excited about all these things. And these are programs that are for the public, but just to put out there, this wasn't just a grant for just programming directly to the public. The library also has partnered with South Hunterdon Middle School, and Ned Hector, or Noah Lewis presenting Ned Hector, which was a Black Wagoneer and with the Proctor's Artillery, will be doing a program for the middle school also in February. So this is a much larger and well-done grant. And we want to thank the New Jersey State Library and Rev. Van Jay for even presenting this and giving us the opportunity and the funding to put these awesome programs together, which personally, in my opinion, I think is probably one of the best set of programs that are being done in the entire state in terms of the 250th. So thank you for your